Hi everyone, good morning. As part of the today's session, we are going to study a brief introduction about a JSON. So is it JSON really required for us to know? Yes, of course. The reason is if you know the JSON, then you can easily understand and you can play with your response. So whatever the API you are validating, the response itself is coming as part of a JSON. If you know the JSON structure, if you know how can you use the JSON and how to validate a JSON, then it's easy for you to work on karate assertions. So in order to work on karate assertions, the precondition out over there is having a good understanding on a JSONs. Okay, so what is a JSON? JavaScript object notation. And this JSON is precisely of a two types. One is an object. So if it is a JSON object, it will be represented in a curly braces. If it is a JSON array, it will be represented in this kind of a normal braces. And for any object, it's going to represent here a combination of a key value pair. Okay, the combination of a key value pair we have in any particular object. So key one, value one, comma. If there are a multiple values sets are there in an object, you just need to specify using a comma. Comma is used precisely to separate a multiple sets of values defined in this particular one. Whereas on another side, array, it contains simple information itself. Whatever the information we have, just the only that information you are going to define in this particular values in an array basically. So it has a value one, value two, value three, something like that. You will be storing down that information. So here, the below picture is going to show you a brief overview on the different types of objects and arrays. So it means it's not like always a straight path that you will be defining a JSON object in this way and JSON array in this way. There will be a mix and match of object and as well as an array also in our response. To understand our response more clearly, we should know the different ways of this notation. So here, if it is a JSON object, if you want to define it in a simple way, see here key and a value. If you have a multiple key value pairs, you can separate a comma and key to comma value to colon. You will specify that. Whereas moving on to the second one, basically, it's a nested key. So this structure, whatever I'm showing out over here, is a nested key. So first JSON object is there. Here in this line, it's starting. If you clearly observe, this JSON object is starting here and it is ending. Whereas the key, instead of passing the value directly, you are creating another object inside that. See here for the key, instead of passing the value, you are creating a JSON object inside that. This syntax we can call it as an nested objects. Okay, moving on to the next one, basically inside a JSON object. See, this is an object, this is a start point, and this is an end point for which we are using array object here. So it means my key is a one, maybe I have a multiple values. I can say an example for this one is cars. My cars is the key and the values are I might have a BMW, I might have a Skoda, I might have another car. Multiple cars information I can pass in an array. Okay, so you may use any one of these three, and a simple JSON array looks like this one. Basically, the value will be defined. And if you want to use a nested arrays, basically, so this is what the array starting and this is what the array ending, inside of which you can pass multiple JSON objects inside that. So if you observe these two examples, one thing that we guys need to consider is inside a JSON object, I can create an array, or inside an array, I can also pass a JSON object. A mix and match of these two things we are going to represent as part of a JSON. Fine. So moving on to the next point here, I just want to show you the next screen where in which I want to consider a sample example on this JSON and what are all the mechanisms we can use in order to retrieve that. See, assume that this is what your response. Okay, this is what the response I got from a particular get endpoint. Assume that I hit particular API. This is what the response I got from that particular API. It has first name, last name, age, cars, cars. It has array of values, income. This is kind of a nested object here. Income, I have a multiple sources, a salary, others, and multiple sources are there. And the pets, which is of an array type, inside the pets, we have a multiple objects. Like I have a one, two different dogs. One is a blackie, which is of a breed laver, and another dog we have a brownie, and it's a Rottweiler. So I have defined it. Assume that this is what a complete response that you got from a particular API. This is what my API response is. So if I have this API response, from this response, if I want to get certain information, okay, so I just want to get certain information from this particular response. So what I'm going to do right now means, uh, let me open my notepad so that I can easily write down the scenarios in that a notepad document itself. Just give me a second. Let me pull this a notepad document. One second. So here, I just closed that full screen window for a presentation, and I switch back to my Word document here, a notepad, and I just added a column basically, which is JSON data retrieving. As of now, response is the one which has complete response of the API. Whatever the API response is there, this whole screen basically, it's a response for a particular API, and it will be stored in a response a variable. Response is a variable that we can use it in a karate basically, which has a complete response JSON body inside that. Now here, if you see certain examples, my requirement is I want to get the last name from this particular one. So the last name is here directly inside a JSON object itself. So first name and a last name. So directly what I can do is get last name. So if it is my requirement, response dot lname. That's it. Lname is a variable that we have basically in the JSON. So from the response, I'm just asking it to get lname. Automatically, whatever the response we have, from which it will pick the last name. This is the way how you need to do that. Maybe it's up to you. Whatever the value you are retrieving it, you may store it in some variable that we will do as part of the complete assertions. But now as part of the today's sessions, let us see how can we get retrieve the information from a JSON for a different sets of operations. Okay. Cool. And then see here, you have a cars basically, and this cars is an array. Car is a key basically, but it has multiple values, Hyundai and a Ford. So this car is there in my response, in which I want to get my second car, not the first car. I want to get my second car. How can I get that information? Get second car name. So response dot, what is the key in which we have this cars information? Inside the cars itself, we have this cars information. See, this is the cars. So let's go back. Cars, and cars is of what type? Basically it's a JSON array type. In order to retrieve the information from an array type, I can just use an index. Basically I can give index of 1. Index of 1 is going to get my second car. Index of 0 is going to get my first car information. That's it. So this is the way how can we get the second car name. Okay, perfect. And the next one is get other income. So basically in this response, whatever we have, see, it has income, and income has multiple objects. This is not an array we have in an income. We have a sub objects inside that. My requirement is how can I get other income from this particular one? So in the response, you have a income. So first of all, let's go back to that notepad, get other income. So from the response, you have income. See, basically, if you go back in the response, you have a income. Inside the income, there is an object of others. Others has a value. So directly I can use dot others. Automatically, it will be getting that others income. Okay, automatically this will be getting the others income. And we have a one more last example that I want to show you out over here. So which is, I have a pets basically. I want to get my second pet breed. Okay, so whatever the pet is there, every pet has a name and as well as a breed. For my second pet, I need to get the breed. So pets, if you observe, this is a JSON array. The symbol it's showing it as a JSON array. JSON array has a two sets of values. Okay, so first what I'm going to do, get second pet breed. Okay, so from the response we have a pets, so that's it basically. So if you observe, from the response you have a pets, and moreover the pets is of an array. If you want to select something, you need to go with an index, and my requirement is of a second pet, so of one. So from the pets of a array, go to the second array of values in which I want to get breed. So breed. So which will be getting the breed of my second pet. That's it. So this is the way how can we play with these JSON. And guys, these kinds of things we are going to use as part of our assertions that we are going to see in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye.